Whilst Derail Valley is a great simulator, its static scenery objects and stationary motor vehicles has always provided a solitary, post-apocalyptic feeling. Until now. Add life to Derail Valley with DV Road Traffic, a new mod by Grandpa Playing Games, which populates the world with semi-intelligent automatic vehicles in over 50 provided traffic routes. Stay watching and learn how to edit or create and share your own routes using our in-game editing tools. Oh, and you'll definitely want to hang around to learn more about our special
Lock and load
Traffic Warden gameplay mode as well. DV Road Traffic brings the roads of Derail Valley to life, adding semi-intelligent traffic that moves, reacts, and blends naturally into the world. With over 50 ready-to-use routes included, vehicles appear across the map immediately, following believable paths that feel right at home in Derail Valley. Every route can be edited or expanded using the in-game tools provided, allowing you to tweak existing traffic or create your own from scratch. There's no external setup required. Vehicles are chosen to suit each area, keeping traffic grounded and consistent with its surroundings. The result is a Derail Valley experience that feels more alive, more active, and far less empty. At the core of DV Road Traffic are its traffic routes, which define how vehicles move throughout the world. Routes can be as simple as a straight end-to-end path, or as complex as a full network spanning multiple streets, junctions, and destinations. Within a single route, you can define multiple paths and decision points, allowing vehicles to choose different directions as they travel. This creates a more varied and realistic flow of traffic, rather than the same vehicle repeating identical movements. You can guide traffic through towns, across level crossings, or along long stretches of open road, building anything from basic routes to highly detailed traffic systems. But these vehicles don't just follow paths blindly. They respond to what's happening around them. Vehicles will stop behind stationary traffic, give way to oncoming vehicles, and wait when the road ahead is blocked. Once the obstruction clears, they smoothly resume their journey, keeping traffic flowing in a natural and believable way. It's this responsive behaviour that helps bring the system to life, and it becomes even more important when interacting with other aspects of Derail Valley. If you're using Grandpa's previous mod DV level crossings, you'll be pleased to know that DV Road Traffic integrates with it beautifully, allowing vehicles to react to barriers just like you'd expect. As barriers lower, approaching vehicles will detect them and come to a stop, waiting safely behind until the crossing clears. Once the barriers lift, traffic resumes naturally, continuing along its route without disruption. Of course, our vehicles are only semi-intelligent, so if one happens to get caught between the barriers as they come down, well, you'll want to stick around to see how that plays out. With so many routes available and the ability to add your own, you might be wondering how exactly to find the action. You can do that directly through the communicator. Just open the communicator and scroll through the available pages until you find the DV Road Traffic section. Then scroll through the list of routes and left-click on any entry to teleport straight to that location. After a short transition, you'll be placed right at the route, ready to watch the traffic in action. Do be aware that because traffic is spawned on demand, it may take a few seconds for traffic to appear. Whilst DV Road Traffic's vehicles are designed to keep themselves out of trouble most of the time, they are physical objects, and because they interact with the world, sometimes things can go wrong. And when they do, you might want to be able to have the means of clearing a traffic jam, or maybe there's times where you just want to blow stuff up. And so we've provided a gameplay mode we call Traffic Warden. You activate Traffic Warden mode by pressing the default keys Alt-W.
Lock and load.
Once that happens, you then receive a crosshair on the screen, and there are two different gun types. You can press Alt-G to toggle between them. We have a ray gun and we have a projectile weapon. With the ray gun, it's a very simple point and click and vehicle goes boom situation. With the projectile weapon, however, that's where the real fun comes into play, because the projectile responds to gravity just as you would expect, so you have to aim fairly carefully, particularly at distant objects. And so we're able to clear away any vehicle that we want with the Traffic Warden mode. So you'll see there's a score as well that is supplied so that you can keep track throughout the session of just exactly what sort of mayhem you have performed. So again, Alt-W to go into Traffic Warden mode. If you want to get back out of it again, it's a toggle switch, so just Alt-W once more.
Lock and load.
Bye-bye. DV Road Traffic works by animating the static vehicle models already built into Derail Valley. Because these models are quite simple, they don't include separate moving parts like wheels or headlights, so those elements unfortunately can't be animated. To maintain performance, traffic is only active when you're within a certain range of the route. This allows large areas of the map to run efficiently, but it also means that if you arrive at a route very quickly, vehicles may still be spawning in and the traffic flow may take a while to fully establish. Vehicle selection is also tied to the local environment, so each vehicle factory can only use models found nearby. Ensuring that traffic remains consistent with the area, you won't find military tanks operating inside the farm or tractors inside the military base as an example. When entering a new session, the mod does take a few seconds to load the traffic routes and positions of those routes across the world. During this short period, the game may feel slightly laggy, but this will settle once loading is complete. A progress indicator is displayed on the screen so you can see exactly when everything is ready. Using the provided routes in DV Road Traffic is only half the fun, so make sure you stick around to learn how to create, edit and share your own routes as well. In the meantime, if you'd like to install DV Road Traffic, you can download it directly from Nexus Mods using the link in the description and up on the screen right now. The mod requires Unity Mod Manager to be installed, so please do make sure that's set up first before continuing. Once downloaded, open the archive and extract the contents. You'll see a folder named DV_Road Traffic. This entire folder should be placed into your Derail Valley mods directory. Make sure that you copy the full folder as is, without renaming or moving any of the files inside it. After that, launch the game, ensure the mod is enabled in Unity Mod Manager, and you're good to go. If you'd like a full step-by-step guide on how to install mods safely in Derail Valley, you can check out Grandpa's Guide, which I will also link here and again on the screen. That will cover the entire process in detail. In this tutorial, we're going to go through the process of creating a route or editing an existing route using the in-game tools supplied with DV Road Traffic. So first off, let's look at the principles of creating or editing traffic routes. When we first run DV Road Traffic, it's in what we call runtime mode, and that is the traffic is automatically generated and travels along its prescribed routes automatically as long as the player is within a certain prescribed radius. But in order to create routes, we need to swap DV Road Traffic over to the edit mode. And the means by which we toggle between the runtime and the edit modes is by using the default hotkeys of Control and Alt and F9. Control Alt F9. That will take us from being in runtime mode into edit mode. And as we can see here, once we go and select Control Alt and F9, up here on the screen, there's a little panel that appears to indicate that we are in editing mode. In addition, it will display the current route that is being edited, if any. At this stage, it's saying none, because we haven't selected a route or begun the process of creating a new one. So Control Alt F9 will toggle us between runtime mode or edit mode. So once we're in edit mode, traffic will stop being spawned for each route until we go back into the runtime mode. The next thing we need to know about are vehicle factories. So each route has a vehicle factory that is responsible for spawning vehicles automatically in runtime mode, governing the rate at which those vehicles are spawned, and dictate what type of vehicles are allowed on the route. In addition, it will also set the initial direction for the vehicles that are being spawned. The vehicles themselves that are spawned from the vehicle factory are vehicles that belong to the particular route that is being created or edited. They move straight ahead when spawned at a constant speed until they receive instructions to either speed up, slow down, turn, and so forth from something we call a traffic marker. And they will react to other vehicles that are from the same route. So if they detect a vehicle from the same route stopped ahead of them, they will attempt to stop behind that vehicle so they don't run into them. But that sort of behaviour is restricted to just vehicles from the same route. So every route has a single vehicle factory. It has multiple vehicles that are spawned from that vehicle factory, and those vehicles respond to instructions from traffic markers. Okay, now that we've got those principles out of the way, let's just quickly talk about a few other terms of reference. So we'll be sometime talking about raycasting during the course of this tutorial. That simply means pointing somewhere in world by moving your viewpoint, and of course the little dot that's in the middle of the screen is the focus of the raycast. In addition, we'll sometimes be talking about an action key. So that key is the key, which is F9 by default, that is used for various things under different circumstances, such as selecting or deselecting objects, creating new vehicle factories, routes, and so forth. And finally, there's going to be other keybinds that we can refer to, and they can be accessed by opening up the UMM settings, going to DV road traffic, clicking in the settings icon here, and then as you can see there's a whole host of different keybinds for various actions predominantly used in editing routes. But don't worry, we'll be running you through those now. So those keybinds, we'll be always talking about the defaults, but they can be changed by you in the majority of cases at any time. Okay, let's look at creating a route. So here we are at City West, and we've got a section of road here that we might be wanting to animate. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a vehicle factory. We're in editing mode, as we can see by the panel up the top, and no current route has been selected. Once we're in edit mode, we can see any existing vehicle factories that are within view are shown like this in white. But we want to go ahead and create a new vehicle factory and a new route at this stage. So let's just hop down here. We're going to Raycast and press F9 somewhere where there is not currently a vehicle factory. So let's just go and press F9 now. And as you can see, this big yellow box appears. That's our vehicle factory. And above it, we can see various parameters. So firstly, the default route name is Route 52. And we can see that that is also now indicated as being the selected route for editing here in the editing panel at the top. Additionally, there's other parameters here which we'll be going through shortly. But the control factory itself is showing up as being a yellow color, indicating that it is the vehicle factory belonging to the current route that is being edited. And the fact that it's also glowing indicates that it's that particular object that is currently selected. More on that when we look at traffic markers shortly. So the vehicle factory has been created at this point in time, and if we have a look at it, we can see that it is a cube that has a green pointer coming out one side of it. This green pointer indicates the direction in which the vehicles will be spawned and will begin moving in once we activate this vehicle factory. So obviously we may not want the traffic to be going in the direction that factory is currently pointing at. So there's a variety of different key binds that we can use to control the placement and rotation, etc. of the vehicle factory. So firstly is the mouse scroll wheel. The mouse scroll wheel will cause the rotation of that particular vehicle factory. And in addition, if you also hold down the shift key, we can adjust the rotation in a more granular or finer manner than we could without. So we can use scroll wheel to adjust the rotation, shift scroll to adjust the rotation in a finer manner. Additionally, we can move the position of the vehicle factory with the arrow keys. So we can move it backwards, forwards, left and right. And this is always going to follow your direction of view. So for instance, currently we're looking in this direction. So if I press forward, the vehicle factory moves away from me. If instead I rotate my viewpoint and I press the forward key, you'll see that it is still moving directly away from me. So the movement is relative to our direction of view. Okay, so we can move. We can also raise or lower the vehicle factory by using the page up or page down key. So our movements again are rotation with the scroll, fine rotation with the shift scroll, or moving up or down with the page up or page down keys. The vehicle factory can also be deleted. If you created the vehicle factory accidentally, you can just simply press the delete key and boom, it's gone. Now that's true only whilst the only object belonging to that route is the vehicle factory. So if you have subsequently spawned any traffic markers belonging to the route, all of those markers are going to need to be deleted before you can delete the vehicle factory. So let's go ahead and create another vehicle factory now. So we raycast, we press F9. Let's put it maybe over at the back here. Alright, there's our vehicle factory. We're going to rotate it and we're going to try to get the traffic that it spawns to come out along the car park and go out the centre and then start going out onto the road from there. Okay, so in order to do that, obviously we need to rotate the vehicle factory so that when it spawns a vehicle, it spawns in the direction that we want. Okay, so we can test the spawning of a vehicle and seeing the direction that it travels by pressing the F8 key. And we can see here that car didn't exactly go where we would want it to go initially. We would probably want it to be turning into the laneway here rather than hitting the curb as it did there. So let's just rotate our vehicle factory, press F8 again, and that's somewhat better. The vehicle went somewhere near where we want it to go. Now of course we can hold down our shift key and maybe make a couple of fine adjustments, and if we press F8 again, that looks reasonably good, maybe just 1 or 2 notches more in rotation. F8 again. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy that the vehicle will end up where I want it to go before I give it another command. Okay, so F8 used to spawn a test vehicle. If we want to spawn multiple test vehicles continuously, we can press the Alt F8 key, which we'll be doing later on, and that will spawn a new vehicle approximately every 6 seconds so that we can test longer and more complex routes without having to press the F8 key repeatedly. Okay, Let's just have a look at some of the options here of the vehicle factory as well. So we can see that the name of the vehicle factory, Route 52, again, it's yellow, so that means it's the vehicle factory belonging to the currently edited route, Route 52. The next parameter here is traffic 5. That's the rate at which traffic will spawn. So it's a number ranging from 1 to 10, and that number goes from a slowest rate to the fastest rate. And we can adjust the rate for this vehicle factory by making sure the vehicle factory itself is selected, so it's not only yellow but it's also glowing, and then using our scroll wheel and the Alt key combined, Alt plus scroll, and as we move that down or up we can adjust the traffic rate. So this means when we're in runtime mode at this setting of 10, traffic will spawn as quickly as we allow. We can also move between other parameters by pressing Alt and Shift and the scroll key, and that allows us to move the pointer to the parameter that we wish to change. So let's look at the next parameter, TTL. That means time to live. And it means that each vehicle that this vehicle factory spawns will live for however many seconds is indicated here, unless its life is terminated early. And there's a couple of ways in which that might happen we'll discuss a bit later on. But in the meantime, we've selected the TTL parameter, and if I hold down the Alt key and move my cursor, we can see that we can increment or decrement that number by 30-second intervals, anywhere from 6 minutes maximum down to a minimum of 30 seconds. Now the other parameters are fairly obvious. That is, if we go and select spawn cars and then Alt scroll, we can toggle between yes and no. If we say yes, that means that if cars are available within this particular region, it is going to include cars as being one of the types of vehicles that it is possible to spawn from this vehicle factory. Same thing with trucks, buses, and others will be things like tanks or tractors or excavators, mining trucks and so on. So typically we have cars, trucks, buses and others, and we can specify exactly which of those categories we want to be allowable for spawning from this vehicle factory. Okay, but there is one caveat, and that is a vehicle factory will not be able to spawn vehicle types that are not available within the local area that the vehicle factory is sitting in. So as an example, don't expect to spawn military tanks in the farm or farm tractors in the military base. So even if you have spawn others set to yes, it's only going to spawn those types of vehicles if they're available in the local area that the vehicle factory lives in. Okay, so again, to move up and down in parameters, we use Alt Shift scroll wheel. To change a parameter, we use Alt and scroll wheel. So we have seen that a vehicle factory is going to allow us to spawn vehicles in the direction that this green arrow is pointing at, and it's going to spawn the types of vehicles that are specified here if they're available at a rate that is specified here, and the vehicles will survive for so many seconds. Okay, When a vehicle is spawned, as we've seen, it is going to jump out and it's going to continue along in a straight path until it either hits an obstruction or receives an instruction from something we call a traffic marker. So traffic markers can be spawned anywhere that we want by pressing the F6 key. So this is what a traffic marker looks like. And that traffic marker can be manipulated in exactly the same way that we manipulated the vehicle factory. That is, it can be rotated, it can be fine rotated, it can be moved up or down, and it can be deleted as well. There's various different types of traffic markers, and each of those markers is going to give a different instruction to our vehicle. So if we have a look, the default traffic marker is turn 2, and it's going to allow us to define a target in which the vehicle should turn towards. At the moment it is undefined because we haven't specified what that target is. Now vehicle types, or a marker type, can be changed by pressing the F7 key. F7 will cycle through the various marker types: random turn, turn target, speed up, slow down, stop, despawn, stop, then despawn, and then cycle back to turn 2. Alternatively, we can press Alt F7 to cycle backwards throughout the list. Okay, so what happens is that our vehicle, when it gets spawned, is going to travel straight ahead until it hits a marker that is associated with that particular route. So in this case, the vehicle didn't respond because at the moment the instruction is not complete. We've just said turn 2, but we haven't told it where to turn, so it says, below that, I'm not going to turn anywhere. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a direction to turn. And to do that, we're going to spawn another marker. So F6, let's just maybe rotate it in this direction, move it along here a little bit, and we're then going to press the F7 key, and we're going to change that marker type, F7 once, F7 twice, to be a turn target. So it's got number 2. That doesn't mean that it's the second turn target. It means it's basically the second marker that has been associated with this particular route. Okay, so we've got a turn target and we've got a turn 2, but what we don't have is an association between the two. So we need to tell this marker that it wants to send the vehicle to this turn target. So in order to do that, we need to select the marker, and we do that with the action key F9. You will notice, by the way, that the last selected marker here is not only blue, but it's glowing, and our vehicle factory is no longer glowing. So this is an indication the vehicle factory is yellow, meaning that, hey, this vehicle factory belongs to the route that's currently being edited. We can see these blue markers. They are also belonging to that route. But this one is glowing, so it means it's the currently selected object that is going to be manipulated. So now we want to manipulate the turn 2 marker that is here. So we're going to select it by pressing F9. Once we select F9, we can see it's become active. It still says turn 2 undefined. So now we're going to specify what turn target it should be associated with. So to do that, we adjust the parameter here, which is currently undefined, by using the same keys that we used on the vehicle factory. That is by holding down the Alt key and using the scroll wheel. So as you can see, once we scroll there, it's going to scroll us through all of the available turn targets. At the moment there's only one, so it's going to automatically set it to turn target number 2, and we can see this green line indicates the direction, overall direction, that this turn 2 will send the vehicle towards its turn target. So let's spawn a vehicle and see what happens. We're going to press F8 here. Here's a truck. It hits that, and we can see that it veers off in the direction of the turn target. Now, of course, here it's being obstructed. We don't have the turn target positioned very well. And we kind of lucked out. It went onto the road anyway. But it's not very good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select our turn target. And you can see that unlike the other marker, the turn target has a pointer very similar to the vehicle factory. That means that once the vehicle hits this turn target, the vehicle will then attempt to turn in the direction of this arrow. So what we want to do is basically have our vehicle run through, come and hit this turn target, and then go out onto the road. So in order to do that, maybe we'd be better to move our turn target here and then have it point towards the road. And now let's see what happens when we spawn a vehicle. Here's our vehicle, it turns towards the turn target, hits the turn target, and turns and goes more or less into the middle of the road there. So let's just adjust the angle on that a little bit, spawn another vehicle. Let's try and make sure that it's going where we want it to go. Okay, so I think that that's pretty good. Alright, so we've seen an example of setting a turn 2 to a turn target and how to direct the traffic from that turn target until it receives further instruction again. Alright, so one thing that you should note is the fact that F9 is not just used to select an object, but if you select the same object a second time with the F9 key, then you'll see that we have now deselected this particular traffic route. And by that, we know that by the fact that the markers disappeared. Don't worry, they're still there, they're just invisible. And that the vehicle factory turned a white colour, in which case it is indicating that it is a vehicle factory, but it is not currently selected, and our editing panel says route is none. If we want to select this route again for editing, just a matter of bringing our or raycasting over that vehicle factory, and again pressing F9. So if we press F9, raycast an F9 over an existing vehicle factory, then it's going to bring up all of the traffic markers and everything associated with that particular route and indicate here which route is being edited. The vehicle factory that is associated with that route will be yellow instead of white. Okay, so we've got the beginnings of a route here. It's a very simple route, but let's give it a name. So as we can see here, currently it's defaulted to the name of Route 52, which is not very inspiring. So we're going to click on Edit, and once we click on Edit here, we can give this route a different name. So I'm just going to call it Demo Route, but I usually recommend that you use a name that will be indicative of where the route is. But once we've given it a new name and pressed Enter, we can see that name is reflected above the vehicle factory. Okay, so let's have a look again at our current route. F8, along comes a car, hits this, and bang, starts to go into the middle. So we maybe want to now send our traffic out into the big wide world. So we know that it's going to roughly hit this area here. Let's put F6. We're going to create a new marker. Maybe we'll move it back here a little bit. And this is a turn 2 marker. Now, there's no real hard and fast rules in Derail Valley, so you can be left-hand drive or right-hand drive, whichever suits you. I tend to intermix them as a matter of convenience. So let's make this a right-hand drive route. We're going to create a new marker here. F6. We're going to want this marker to be a turn target. F7, F7. Let's just make sure that the pointer is headed in the direction that we want the traffic to go. It is. We're now going to F9 onto the turn 2, and we're going to select turn target number 4. So as we can see, it will cycle between turn targets, but always the last marker that you have created that is a turn target will be the first one that it selects as a matter of convenience. Okay, so let's see what happens here. We're going to hit F8. Here comes our car, hits this other marker and says, okay, let's go. Okay, so it's working, more or less, but it can be refined. So how can it be refined? I guess we wanted to try to stick within the lane here. So the first thing we're going to do is probably select the turn target. We're going to move it further down here. We'll select this one here, the turn 2, and we'll bring it maybe about here and see if we can't improve where the traffic ends up. So one thing I must say, buses are a bit of a pain because they're so long. Often other vehicles will spawn correctly and travel along your route great, but a bus just tends to get obstructed. So we're going to, we could obviously easily modify our route here to support buses, but for the sake of the demonstration at this stage, I'm going to select our vehicle factory. I'm going to Alt Shift, go down to buses, and I'm going to say no, don't spawn them please. So we're just going to spawn trucks and cars from this particular vehicle factory. Okay, let's see how we go with the car. Any improvement? Here comes our car. Hits, turns, and boom. And as you can see now, the car is turning out of the car park and pretty much arriving in the middle of the lane, exactly where we want it to go. So good. Now we're going to be obviously building upon this route by getting cars to go down along the street here. But let's say we didn't want things to be entirely predictable. We didn't always want our cars to turn along the way to the right here. So what we can do is come along here, remembering that we've chosen to be right-hand drive. We're going to select or create another marker here, and we're going to make that a turn target as well. Now you can see the arrow is pointed in the wrong direction, so we'll rotate the marker so that it's roughly in the direction we'd be wanting that traffic to go. And now we're going to go back to this turn to, select it, and then we're going to press F7 once, and we can see that this is now a random turn marker, and that it has a choice of two different targets. Target 1 is currently selected, but each of these targets is undefined. So we are going to hold down our Alt key. We're going to select one of the targets, target 5 here. We're going to press Alt and Shift and scroll down to target 2, and then Alt and scroll, and we're going to select target 4. So now, if we have a look, we can see very clearly that a vehicle that hits the random turn marker has a choice that it can make between moving to target 2 or target 1, or number 4 and number 5 respectively. Let's spawn a couple of vehicles and see what happens. F8. The first one chooses to travel along on target 2, or marker target number 4. Right. The next one also. Let's spawn another one. Now this is truly random, by the way, so there's no real telling exactly how many are going to choose to go one way or the other way. But we can see here that multiple vehicles will head off in different paths. So this is a decision point, a random turn, and we can see that these cars detect there's a vehicle stopped in front of them, and they're going to stop behind it so as to try to prevent themselves from running into the back of the vehicle from the same route that is in front of them. Okay. All right, so let's extend this a little bit. Let's maybe go across here. We're going to do another turn. We're going to send vehicles here. And we're going to send some in this direction. So let's make this a turn target. And we're going to send some in this direction. We'll make that a turn target. F6 to spawn. F7 to toggle the marker types. Rotating with the shift key. Now we're going to select this one here. F9. We're going to F7 it so that it becomes a random turn, and we're going to set target 8 here, and we're going to move down to target 2 with Alt Shift, and then we're going to Alt scroll and we'll select target 7. So again, same sort of deal as before. Now, any vehicles that tend to take this path along here will decide once they hit this target marker, or this turn 2 marker, random turn marker, whether they're going to go left or right. Okay. So, let's have a look. Might put that here. Actually, I'll put that there. We might have a look at another marker type. So I'm going to put another marker here, F6, and rotate it to make sure the vehicle does actually hit it. And we're going to press F7 multiple times until we get to the stop. So we can see this stop marker has a parameter, how many seconds it's going to stop. If we Alt scroll wheel, we can adjust the time. Now, I do recommend that any stops that you have, probably anything less than 5 seconds is usually a good period of time to make sure that you don't get too much traffic banked up behind any stopped vehicle. We're just going to make it a short 2-second gap here. And now let's start spawning some vehicles to see exactly what the behavior is like. Now we could go ahead and press F8 repeatedly, but now that we're starting to get some complexity in our traffic route, it's going to be a lot easier if we just start spewing out a whole heap of different test vehicles so that at least a certain quantity will reach the area that we want to test. So we're going to press Alt F8, and that should commence vehicles starting to spawn every 6 seconds. So once that happens, let's go up here and just try and see what happens when a vehicle hits that stop sign. It's going to stop. Going to stop for 2 seconds, and then it's going to go ahead, hit our random turn, and choose a direction in which to continue. So we can get a very convincing looking cautionary or cautious vehicle here that doesn't want to venture onto the main road until it sees that nothing else is oncoming. Well, that's not the case, but that's the way that it looks. Okay, we can also see at this point that the direction of travel for one of our markers isn't great. This one here. So let us adjust it. F9. We're going to hopefully get it directed more or less down the middle of the road now. We can see that marker isn't placed very well for that to happen, so let's move him across here and across there. And that's looking a little bit better. Maybe we'll just rotate it a little bit further into the middle. Okay, so whilst we're at it, let's look at another marker type. So in addition to stop, we also have a marker type we call Despawn. So if ever you want to terminate a vehicle, then it's just a matter of selecting or creating a marker, cycling through F7 until you get to the despawn. Now any vehicle from this route that hits that despawn marker is going to automatically disappear. As we should be able to see on the grey vehicle shortly. Boom, it's gone. Okay, but maybe we don't want it to just disappear. Maybe we want it to look a little bit more realistic. So let's select that marker. It's already selected, it's glowing. So we're going to select cycle and we're going to do a stop, then despawn. So again, we can adjust the number of seconds. So what will happen is that the vehicle will slow to a stop, wait 3 seconds, and then disappear. As we can see, this in this direction, the traffic is travelling pretty well, but it's dying before it gets too far, and that's because the TTL we had set here at 30 seconds. So I'm going to go and select the vehicle factory. I'm going to change a couple of parameters on this. So I'm going to select Alt-Shift, scroll up to traffic rate. Now the traffic rate is only applicable when we're in runtime mode. At this stage I'm only setting it for what it should be once we actually go to runtime mode. Then I'm going to Alt-Shift down to TTL and then Alt scroll wheel, and I'm going to make this 240 seconds as an example. So this means that our traffic is going to last for 4 minutes unless it hits something like a despawn or stop and despawn. Or if it detects that it gets stuck in an unexpected way, in which case it will probably elect to despawn itself. Okay, so now that we've made this longer, we can see, okay, that's not too bad. Let's go and select this marker and maybe just fine-tune him a little bit more so that he's not running off the end of the road towards the end. Okay. Oops. So now we can keep on repeating these particular steps as we choose. And we can put another marker here. And, whoops. All right. And another marker here. And by now, I guess you'll realize this one here needs to be a turn target. This one here, F9, needs to be a turn 2, connected to turn target number 12. Now you can see we've kind of cut the corner there a little bit, so we need to just adjust the placement of our markers slightly, and we should be able to make sure that that curve is a little bit better. So let's just wait for the next vehicle to come along, and we'll just make sure that it sticks to the curvature that we want a little bit better now that we've adjusted the angle. Boy, it's taking some time for that white car to reach that marker, huh? So, that's what we're going to look at next. A couple of marker types that will allow us to adjust the speed. Well, that's looking a little bit better anyway. Okay. But it's taking a long time to get there. So our vehicles will travel at a constant speed unless we instruct them to go otherwise. So let's create a new marker here. You see I'm rotating it just to make sure that the vehicle does actually hit the marker. Going to press F7. We can see another marker type is speed up. It has a parameter. We can speed up anywhere from a factor of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. Speed ups are done in a, what would you say, a gradual manner. That is that we don't instantly adjust from one speed to another because that would look very artificial. So it sort of slides from the speed that it's currently travelling to the new target speed. So let's have a look at this little orange, blue guy. We can see, whoop, okay, he's sped up. And he's travelling a little bit faster. Let's maybe adjust this parameter up to 5. Let's have a look at an extreme case. Hopefully this green truck will come in our direction. No, it didn't. It's always the way. When you're testing, they never go where you want them to go. Come on, yellow van. Yes. Alright, now we can see this guy. Whoa, off he goes really fast. Now I'd like you to observe something at the other end though. You can see that he's travelling so fast now that he wasn't able to complete the turn in time to hit the turn target. And so he's gone off to oblivion. Who knows where he's going to end up. So typically, when you create turns and so on, you need to make sure that they are going to, or the vehicles are going to hit those turns at a speed that you would expect them to be at to be able to complete the turn properly. So we could do that by going here, F6, new target type, and we're going to F7, F7, until we get to slow down. The previous one was +5, so let's do a -5. That's going to mean that it will slow down to the original speed that it was before we'd incurred the speed up. And the vehicle should be able to make the turn satisfactorily. Now, most of the time I only recommend increments of 1 or 2, as it looks a lot more realistic. But here we can see we speed up, now we slow down, and we make the turn as we expected to. Okay, let's make this a little bit more sensible, or a bit more realistic if we wanted to. I'm going to F9 onto the speed up. I'm going to adjust it down to a speed up +1. And now I'm going to put another F6 here. And F7, F7, F7. Also have that as a speed up +1. Here I'm going to put an F6, and I'm going to have this as a slow down -1. And this guy's going to be able to crawl. But I'm going to now F9 and adjust this to a slow down -1 as well. Okay, let's just get rid of this vehicle. Bye. Okay, and have a look at what happens now to the next vehicle that comes our way. So actually we've got a bit of a traffic jam here. So again, this is where Traffic Warden comes in handy. We can clear up that traffic jam. So that we can continue testing our route. Okay, let's come up here. Have a look at our vehicle. Hopefully we're going to get one here soon. Here comes one. So we can see it speeds up. Here. Now it speeds up a bit more. And hits a slowdown. And a slowdown again. And now it looks much more natural or realistic by the fact that we're doing gradual increments or decrements to speed rather than massive adjustments all in one go. Okay. Let's just make sure that we've covered all of the marker types. So I'm just going to spawn a marker here temporarily. Make sure that I've given you all the good information so we can see turn 2, random turn, we've discussed that, turn target, should be familiar with speed up and slow down now, as well as stop, despawn, and stop and then despawn. So that's all the different marker types, but a combination of all of those things can be used to create some very powerful and intricate traffic routes. Okay, let's delete this guy. Alright, but it'd be no good if we went to all the trouble of creating those routes and then we forgot to save them. So do make sure that whenever you make any changes to any routes, whether it be a new route or an existing route, that you save your changes. You can do that with the F10 key, or when you press Alt Control F9 to go back into a runtime mode, you will get prompted to save your changes. So you can see this dialog box says your changes may be lost if you exit without saving. So click on Save to save those changes. If you click on Continue, you'll go into runtime mode, but it is possible that your edits may not be saved if you exit the game before you do another save later on. So we're going to click on Save here. And you can see that once we've done that, we've gone into runtime mode. We can tell we're in runtime mode by the fact that there is no edit box up the top of the screen. And also our markers have disappeared, as has our vehicle factory. And now our traffic is spawning automatically. Okay, so we have covered how to create a route. We've also covered how to save correctly. So the next thing that we'll be doing is showing you how to share the routes that you create with your friends, should you choose, and extend your traffic network. An important note about saving is that once you either press F10 or you press the save button after pressing Alt Control F9, then all routes currently within your DV Road Traffic installation will be saved. So that means that if you have edited multiple routes, then simply pressing F10 will save the changes made to all of those routes. So again, F10 or save will save all routes, the current status of all routes in your system. So you created a really cool route and you want to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Well, the good news is it's easy to do with DV Road Traffic. Simply open up your Derail Valley installation folder and locate the mods folder that is there, and then the DV Road Traffic folder within that. Inside DV Road Traffic, you'll find yet another folder. That folder is called Routes. And if you open that up, you'll find that there are all of the individual routes contained within this particular folder. So if you've just created a route such as we did, we called ours demo route, just locate that route. There it is there, demo_route.json. Copy that file, and then you can send it off to your friend, and they can just place that file within their routes folder as well, and instantly they're able to enjoy the efforts that you have made to create a terrific traffic route. And of course, don't forget that it will also be available for selection within the communicator, so they'll be able to teleport to your route and see exactly all of the good things that you have done. So it's as simple as that. So that's DV Road Traffic, a mod that really does help to bring Derail Valley to life. I do hope that you enjoy using it, and if you do, please consider either buying me a coffee or certainly liking this video and subscribing to the Grandpa Playing Games channel, which is free and will provide you more information about upcoming mods as well as general Derail Valley gameplay. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I do hope that you enjoy the mod, and we'll see you next time.